We live in an era of unprecedented noise. Every second of every day, the world demands your attention, your outrage, and your reaction. People shout to be heard. They argue to prove their existence. But if you look closely at truly strong people, the ones who navigate life with calm and composure, you will notice something remarkable. They do not shout. They do not react impulsively. They prefer silence. This is not the silence of fear or weakness. It is the silence of power. For thousands of years, philosophers, emperors, warriors, and thinkers have practiced this principle. It lies at the heart of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy designed to help people live wisely in a chaotic world. The Stoics believed that the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. True strength comes from mastering your mind and building an inner fortress within yourself. Today, we will explore why strong people prefer silence and how this ancient Stoic wisdom can give you unshakable peace of mind. To understand the power of silence, we must look at one of the most powerful men in history, Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome, a man with absolute authority over one of the greatest empires the world had ever seen. But his life was far from peaceful. During his reign, he faced devastating plagues, brutal wars, political betrayal, and the deaths of several of his children. Yet, despite this chaos, Marcus Aurelius remained calm, disciplined, and rational. How? He built what philosophers call the inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius kept a private journal that we now know as Meditations. These writings were never meant for publication. They were personal reflections, reminders to himself about how to think and how to live. In these writings, he described a powerful idea. True peace does not come from escaping the world. It comes from retreating into your own mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can one retreat into greater peace than within one's own soul." Most people believe they need to escape their problems. They search for peace in vacations, distractions, or changing their surroundings. But the Stoics understood something deeper. If you run away from your problems, you simply take your troubled mind with you. Strong people prefer silence because they know how to retreat inward. They can step back from the chaos of the world and observe their thoughts calmly. In this inner space, they are free. External events cannot invade the mind unless we allow them to. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, things outside of us do not harm the soul. Our suffering comes only from our judgments about them. When you cultivate inner silence, the world loses its power over you. Another reason strong people prefer silence is because they understand one of the most important ideas in Stoic philosophy, the dichotomy of control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus explained it simply: some things are within our control, and some things are not. Within our control are our beliefs, our values, our choices, and our actions. Outside our control are things like reputation, the opinions of others, politics, luck, and the behavior of other people. Most people waste enormous amounts of energy trying to control what cannot be controlled. They argue, they complain, they get angry. But these reactions do not change reality. Strong people use silence as a filter. Before reacting, they ask themselves a simple question: is this within my control? If someone insults you, you cannot control their words. You cannot control what they think about you, but you can control your response. Shouting back only gives them power over your emotions. Silence allows you to pause and reclaim control over your mind. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond deliberately. Silence becomes a moment of clarity, a moment where you focus only on what truly belongs to you, your character, and your actions. The Stoics also taught something called the discipline of assent. This idea explains how our minds react to events. Every day we experience countless impressions. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You receive a rude message. A plan fails unexpectedly. The first emotional reaction happens automatically, but what matters is what happens next. Weak people immediately accept their emotional reaction as truth. They think, "This is terrible. I have been wronged." "This is unbearable," and they react with anger, fear, or frustration. Strong people do something different. They pause. They create a space between the event and their reaction. In that silence, they examine the situation more carefully. They ask themselves, "Is this truly as bad as it seems?" Marcus Aurelius practiced something known as the stripping method. He believed we often add unnecessary emotional layers to events. If we remove those layers, we see reality more clearly. A luxury meal, he would remind himself, is simply cooked food. Expensive wine is simply fermented grapes. By stripping away exaggerated judgments, events lose their emotional power. Silence gives the mind the space needed to see things objectively. This leads to a state the Stoics called apatheia, not emotional numbness, but freedom from destructive emotions like rage, envy, and panic. From this calm clarity arises deep tranquility, a state of mental balance known as ataraxia. Another powerful Stoic practice is called the view from above. This exercise requires imagination and silence. When we become trapped in our own perspective, small problems can feel overwhelming. Arguments feel extremely important. Daily frustrations feel like disasters. The Stoics suggested imagining yourself rising high above the earth. You see cities, countries, and entire civilizations from a distance. You observe people working, arguing, celebrating, struggling. From this perspective, something becomes clear. Human life is vast and complex. Your current problem is only a tiny fragment of a much larger picture. This realization does not make life meaningless. Instead, it creates perspective. It reminds us that everyone shares the same struggles, fears, and hopes. The Stoics believed all human beings belong to a single moral community. This idea is called cosmopolitanism. When strong people encounter anger or ignorance in others, they do not respond with hostility. They understand that destructive behavior often comes from misunderstanding or emotional confusion. So instead of arguing endlessly, they choose calm. They respond with patience, empathy, or sometimes simply silence. But what about real tragedy? Loss, grief, failure. How can silence help during life's most difficult moments? The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote extensively about adversity. He argued that suffering must be approached with balance. When we lose something important, even someone we love, the pain is real. But losing ourselves completely to despair only adds more suffering. Seneca used a powerful metaphor. Losing someone dear to us is like losing a limb. The injury is serious and painful, but we must still care for the rest of the body. Life continues. We still possess our character, our abilities, and our capacity to live with dignity. Strong people step into silence during adversity, not because they feel nothing, but because they are processing reality calmly. This mindset is connected to another Stoic idea, amor fati, the love of fate. Instead of resisting reality, the Stoics practiced accepting events as part of the natural order. This does not mean liking every hardship. It means recognizing that struggle is an unavoidable part of life. Often, suffering comes from wishing reality were different. When we stop resisting what has already happened, we regain our strength. Another Stoic practice that helps with this is negative visualization. The Stoics sometimes imagined losing the things they valued, their health, their possessions, their loved ones, not to become pessimistic, but to appreciate what they currently had. By mentally preparing for loss, they were less shocked when hardship appeared, because they had already rehearsed adversity in the silence of their minds. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is the presence of inner strength. When you see someone remaining calm while everyone else is reacting emotionally, you are witnessing Stoic philosophy in action. You are seeing someone who understands what they can control, someone who examines their reactions before acting, someone who views life with perspective instead of panic. You do not need to be a philosopher or an emperor to practice this. You only need discipline. Start with small habits. In the morning, spend a few minutes in silence before looking at your phone. Prepare your mind for the day ahead. Remind yourself that you may encounter difficult people and frustrating situations, but remember that their actions cannot damage your character. At night, reflect on your day. Ask yourself, what did I do well? Where did I lose control? What can I improve tomorrow? Learn from your mistakes without judging yourself too harshly. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." The goal of Stoicism is freedom. Not freedom from hardship, but freedom from being controlled by fear, anger, or external events. So the next time the world demands your outrage or your reaction, pause, take a breath, retreat into your own mind, and discover the quiet strength of silence.